Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another educational video. I'm going to go over today what my day-to-day looked like when I first started this business. So, not going to be the same as everybody's, but when I was starting out, I was like, dang, what should my days look like? Like, what are the other investors that are in kind of the same exact place and time frame of their business as me? What are they doing on the day-to-day? So I think it's going to be super helpful for you guys to kind of get an understanding of where this all started. This was before I had a business partner and all that. So we're going to go over that on the whiteboard right here. I'm going to share my screen. So my days, even today, still start off fairly early. So we're starting off at like 5 a.m. I do my morning rituals, it's the gym, it's meditations, it's all that type of stuff. But when I was starting out, right, at 7 a.m., what I did is I went over all my data. Okay. So I would essentially go look at all the KPIs, look at how the dials went with my virtual assistants, because when I began, I had like 3 virtual assistants right off the jump. So I was looking at exactly what their conversations were looking like, how many conversations were they having, were we getting good connects, everything. And I was also uploading data, making sure that we had refresh data. So I was doing like all the integrator stuff, like all the stuff that my business partner Andrew does right now. I was doing that at like 7 in the morning, making sure that my business was healthy. Did that for probably about an hour, maybe some research or whatever, right? And then at 8 a.m., this was all the way until about 10 a.m., I was in role plays. So in the sub 2 mentorship that Pace Morby has, right? There's something called the daily dial. To this day, we still have this in the mentorship. And essentially what it is a bunch of investors getting in there and doing role plays like mock sales calls. So somebody pretends to be a buyer, somebody pretends to be a seller, and then everybody gives them feedback, right? It's really good. This took off my sales career. Like, this is where I got the majority of my reps. Not only my reps, but I was hearing other people call and I was hearing other people's feedback and everything. So you hear a bunch of stuff from all different worlds, and it really, really helps you. And it gets your feet wet and it gets you active. So I would do that every day from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And that really took off my sales career. So maybe you're not in a mentorship or something like that. However, what I would do is I would go find a bunch of people that are essentially your battle buddies that you could do this with. Grant Cardone talks about this all the time. He literally used to get in his office, and with the other sales reps, he used to go back and forth. Hey, you pretend to be a prospect, I pretend to be a prospect, and go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So the role play is so essential. It's just like sports, right? This is your practice. That's why football teams practice before games. Like, you need the practice if you're going to be a professional. So, and that's what this is. Wholesaling really is just professional sales. So after that, from 10 a.m. to about noontime, I'll be doing lead management. So not only was I just calling my leads, this is like follow-ups, call these follow-ups of actual leads in my system, like people that raised their hand and said, yes, I would sell, leads that my VAs were generating. This is what I would call for 2 hours a day, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. every day. But I wasn't just doing this alone. I would hop on a Zoom with other investors. Guy named Bryant, he's the freaking man. Still really cool with him. He's down in Atlanta crushing it. Follow Bryant Bettis on Instagram if you guys aren't following him yet. But he was one of my main battle buddies with this. We used to go back and forth. I would call a seller, he'd call a seller. I would call a seller, he'd call a seller. We'll give each other feedback. It's almost the same, along the lines of the same thing as role plays. But notice, like, I had battle buddies. I had people that I was going to war with, right? So we did that every day from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Whether it was with Brian or another investor, I was always doing it. So from 12 to about 1 p.m., I was in a team meeting with my team, and I was also coaching them. So this is for an hour straight. Like, I poured, and at the moment, we don't do an hour-long team meeting anymore because we no longer need it. But in the beginning, I was pouring into my team. Like, so much coaching. This is like an hour a day of just doing call calibrations and role plays with them and just doing everything it takes to get these to get my team on board with how to have conversations. Essentially, that's what we're doing. And I did that every day for like freaking 6 months. So it was a lot of time and energy put into the team. But now we're at a point where literally I have virtual assistants locking up contracts. Like the first virtual assistant I ever hired locked up a contract this week. So, and it all came from back like a year or two ago when I was just pouring into them. And now it's paying off. So would be in a team meeting and essentially would be going over all their goals and stuff like that, but also doing a ton of coaching, maybe like 10 minutes of like rah goal stuff like that. And then the rest of the time straight coaching. So we did that a ton. Then from 1 p.m. to about, let's call it 3. And this isn't like super strict. This is just like what the majority of my schedule was pretty much every day, but wasn't like completely strict with this. Sometimes I had an appointment or something, but 1 to 3 p.m. is what I use for deal work. Because at the moment, I was just a one-man show. I didn't have any dispo managers. I didn't have any transaction coordinators or anything like that. So here's where I, did all my dispo things and did all my transaction coordinating and did all that. I also, in this time period, left time for appointments. So I would go on site appointments only at this time, right? So if sellers needed me to go over their house, I would make sure that I booked it between 1 and 3. So essentially, I would be going on site appointments, some phone call appointments. I'd be doing TC work, transaction coordinator work, and I'd be dispoing in that time period. And then from about 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., I would go back to this. Because what happens up here, and this is like when my business started taking off. I implemented this probably like 3 months into me using this system, right? What I started doing in this time period is going back to all the people that didn't follow up, that didn't answer up here. I would call them back here. So this is lead management again. This is follow-ups. This is follow-up number 2. And a lot of these people, think about it. A lot of these people, maybe at this time period, they were at work, right? Or maybe they were out to breakfast. They were doing something. I don't know. They weren't answering. So I would get a lot of people that would answer again in this time period. This was super crucial. I got so many deals from this time period right here. I never knew. I just kind of called it quits after this, after the 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Follow up. And I'll be like, oh, they're not answering the phone, not realizing like, hey, people are busy at certain times. You know what I mean? So with that being said, after 5 p.m., I had a lot of coaching calls and like accountability calls and stuff like that. It was kind of just all over the place after 5 p.m. But this is the schedule that I essentially stuck with every single day for months at a time until I started really cranking deals. Right now, what was happening? I was wearing a ton of these. I was wearing a ton of hats. That's why I had to make sure that I time blocked everything. Once I time blocked everything, that's when I started seeing deals consistently. I was doing about a deal every 6 weeks, right? And I was not doing that before because my days were all over the place. So until I structured my day, even though I was wearing too many hats, once I started structuring my day, I started doing deals consistently, like on a 6-week basis. That is, it's almost like it's something that I could predict, right? I couldn't predict when my days were all over the place because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. So I started structuring my days, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh crap, I'm starting to get a deal every 6 weeks with this system, right? And then I started scaling up and went from there. But this is a decent schedule for somebody getting into the direct to seller wholesaling. And if you get some value from this, please like the channel. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video. I appreciate y'all. If you guys have any questions about anything, feel free to shoot me a DM at the Mike Gomes on Instagram. Appreciate y'all.